Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. We're back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. This time, we are going to be interviewing Gadi Shamia, who is the CEO and co-founder of Replicant, which is a leader in the contact center automation world. We're going to be talking about all things customer service and support. And even if you're not in the contact center world, you're going to want to hear what Gadi has to say. I've known him for a number of years, worked with him when he was over at TalkDesk, and we actually did a tour together through the U.S., hitting a number of customer events for TalkDesk. Well, now he's the CEO and co-founder, as I said, of Replicant. Before we get into the interview, a couple of really important announcements. If you've got an amazing customer service story you'd like to share, or you have a question, reach out to me on any of the social media channels. I'm just about everywhere. Use the hashtag AskShep if it's a question, and I'll answer the question right there, or I'll answer on this show. I'll answer in my newsletter or my TV show, Be Amazing or Go Home. And you can find episodes on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Prime, and you can go to beamazing.tv. That's beamazing.tv. So that's it for the announcements. Let's get into the interview. Gadi, welcome to the show.
Thrilled to be here again.
Yeah, and it is again. You are a repeat offender. And back in the day when you were here, probably, about 4 or 5 years ago, I believe you were at TalkDesk. And we worked together. I did a road show with your company. We traveled around to a number of cities, had a great time, got to know you and your people a little bit better. And then you decided to leave and start this new company, Replicant.
That's about right. That's correct.
So
stayed in the contact center, just with a different angle.
Right. And notice we're using the word contact center, and everybody knows what contact center is. We're going to be talking about things related to customer service experience, and the contact center is no longer the call center, because it's so much more than just calls, which is where your technology, Replicant, comes into play. Now, when I first saw the name of your company, Replicant, I thought, oh, you're trying to use AI and automation to replicate the customer experience as if it's a human-to-human experience. But then as we talked a little bit, just jumping on our interview today, you said, no, maybe in the beginning, that's what we thought it was going to be, but it changed. It's actually, I think, even better than that today.
Yeah, we came to it thinking that there is a way to replicate some of the human interactions on the phone and over chat and SMS using AI. And we realized during the process that we can actually do, I wouldn't even say better, because we can do it differently. Not every call can be automated. And the first thing we tell customers is that you don't want to automate calls that tend to be high emotional and very complex without a clear goal at the end. If you want to just talk about even something which is not high emotional, like planning your excursions on a cruise or something, and there's a lot of advisory type of discussion, it can go anywhere and back and forth. That's not a great call to automate, because human brains are so flexible in moving around between different areas and different topics and jump off topic, where AI is not there yet. AI can do it, but then it moves out of sync and become less focused in the goal you try to achieve. The calls we can automate really well are calls that have the way I think about a conversion funnel. You come in, you have a goal, or we have a goal for you, and we just take you down this conversion funnel. So for these calls, we can actually do better than humans, because we can leverage technology in real time in a way that no humans using traditional user interface on computer screens, typically, as you well know, 6-7 different systems on a computer screen, can do as effectively. So when you pick the right calls, you can actually sometimes, and we often see, half the handle time to a resolution compared to human agents because of that.
Right. So sometimes, first of all, this is what we found in our research, is that 71% of customers are willing to go to a digital experience and use a digital experience. It's not necessarily where they turn to first, but when we teach them, and specifically companies are really good at this. Certain companies have done a great job of teaching customers to go to try the digital solution before you actually end up making the call. And most of the time it works out really well. You just said something really important. You said it cuts down time. And so that's really important. Friction is, I think, wasting time is friction for a customer. So if we can cut the amount of time it takes from, let's say it was 3 minutes down to a minute, minute and a half, just to give you an example, almost 50%. Boy, we're saving the customer time. We're getting them their answer. Why wouldn't they be happy? You specifically mentioned how roadside assistance, you had a great example of how you didn't even know where you were. It took like 5 minutes of a person talking to you and asking you questions and trying to figure out exactly what your address is, when today with your product, literally seconds before you know where on a roadside assistance situation, your vendor, whoever it is you're dealing with, knows where you are.
Yeah, well, there's several really important points here. My personal story is I was on Highway 280, and the agent insisted on asking me in which city I am, and I never.
Now, 280, by the way, is between San Francisco and wherever you were going.
And Palo Alto, and you never think of highways in terms of cities because they're kind of always out of the city. So it's hard. It was really hard for me to provide the answer. But you brought up a really important point. Often leaders in customer service or CMOs think that when a customer call customer service, they really want the human touch, and they want some values that maybe sit in a brand guideline somewhere. But what people want is for their issue to go away. So think of roadside assistance. If your options are one of the two, call traditional customer service contact center, wait on hold anything between 1 minute, if you're really lucky, to sometimes 30, 40 minutes until an agent is available, and then speak with an agent for an average of 11 minutes or 10 minutes. This is the average handle time for roadside assistant calls. And at the end of this, say 30 minutes plus 10, a tow truck is dispatched your way. So you spend 40 minutes on the transaction, in this case, having a tow truck send you away, and then however long it takes the tow truck to arrive, say it's another half an hour, the whole thing from problem to a tow truck arriving to you took an hour and 10 minutes. Imagine you can call and never wait on hold. So it's predictable. You don't need to worry about, do I have the time frame to call and wait now for the agent and listen to whatever the marketing team want to put on the IVR's recording. And then the call itself takes half the time. So now 5 minutes after you called, you have a tow truck coming your way. And if a tow truck arrived in the same exact 30 minutes, 35 minutes to relieve versus an hour and 10 minutes to relieve. That's a significant difference. And I find it really hard to find a single customer that says, I'll wait half an hour just to speak with a human about this transaction. What you want is your problem to go away versus speaking with the human in most cases, if the call is, again, transactional and a machine can do a really great job. Now, more interestingly, we're really worried that safety issues are going to be a problem. What happens if the customer the caller has a safety-related problem? Maybe they locked out of the vehicle, it's summer or winter, and there's a animal or a baby locked in. What we realize is that if we can capture this, and we ask about safety issues very early on in the call, if we can capture them early on, and we identify, say, there's a pet in the vehicle, we can transfer you right away to an agent. But now the agent know why the transfer happens, so it's not the traditional first come first serve in contact centers. We already identified maybe a minute in the call that there's a safety issue, and now we transfer you to an agent, but we kind of give you a VIP pass. So rather than waiting with everybody else in queue, you're going to speak with an agent that is fully trained and qualified to deal with your specific issue of this pet locked in the vehicle. So even in cases where we don't want to take any risk, you're going to get to an agent faster.
Right. It's the best of both worlds, I think, to be able for a company to understand the balance between digital experience and human experience. And I think it's fair to push people to the digital experience first and immediately get them to the human if needed, and as a backup. And as you mentioned, in the case of an emergency, you get put to the front of the line. The other comment, though, I want to make is you said that trying to figure out the city. You're on a highway between two major cities. Halfway through, you break down and they go, and you're talking to a human being who says, well, what's your address? You go, well, I'm on the highway. I don't know the address. Well, what city are you in? Well, I left San Francisco 20, 30 minutes ago. I don't know what city I'm in. I mean, I know that the next exit is such and such. Does that help you? And you said that thanks to you can ping somebody's cell phone, and as soon as they respond, you have the geo capability of nailing it within 10 feet of where they are. So you know exactly where they are.
Exactly. And all of it happened really quickly. Even if you collect an address, even if you know where you are, maybe you're at a friend's house and you know the exact address, you could just say it. I'm at 123 Fort Knox Street in the city. And because we run it real time against a geo API, you don't have to spell it to an agent that never heard the street name. We just go understand it in 10 seconds. And what people don't realize is behind the scene, agents work with ancient systems with terrible UI. They don't have Google autocomplete. They don't have spell checker. So the reason why it takes so long to grab your address is because the agent just worked literally with a form fill they have to fill, and they have to make sure it's right because there's no validation whatsoever on their side in most systems. So we do that, but if the customer does not know, boom, SMS is sent in real time, because again, there's no need now to move to a different user interface, type an SMS or choose a script. We just do it in real time. And 10 seconds later, the customer will let us know exactly where they are. And this address is going to be entirely correct. The other really interesting thing you mentioned, you now land. I want to bring it to a roadside assistant example. You said you land and you get a text message saying your suitcases are going to be delayed or whatever the thing is. We actually complete the loop very nicely with roadside assistance by being proactive, which is something that customer service centers don't often do. So we tell you a truck is going to come in 30 minutes, and of course it's estimated time. Then there's a massive traffic jam or an accident. The truck is going to be delayed in an hour. We'll automatically call you and tell you, we're so sorry, but your truck is delayed. But it's not a dumb robocall. We're going to ask you, are you still there? Because maybe a good Samaritan passed by and help you to the nearest gas station or even help you all together. So you don't have to go and chase, trucks don't have to chase ghost cases that no longer exist or move to a different place. We ask you if you're still safe. So we always have the way to stay in touch with you. And we can do it exactly at the right time versus hoping an agent will be able to give you a call if the truck is delayed now because 50 other trucks are delayed. So the poor agent need to make dozens and dozens of calls. So it's a really nice way to bridge between reactive, let me answer your issue right now, and proactive, let me keep you updated of the progress of your recovery.
Well, customers love when companies are proactive. And you mentioned the airline experience. Prior to us jumping on the interview, I mentioned a great digital experience. I walked off an airplane, immediately got a text message from the airline, and it said, "We're really sorry. Your bags were not on this plane." I'm paraphrasing. It wasn't exactly that. They did say they were sorry though. and they told me exactly what to expect. And I said, "Oh, this is disappointing." But at the same time, it was very good because number one, I didn't have to go and wait at baggage claim because they told me it wasn't going to be there. They told me I didn't even have to go to the office, but just respond back with the address where I'll be, and they will deliver the bag to me later on in the day. I don't think it could have been any easier than that. There was no calling, waiting on hold. Everything was proactive, and it was all digital. It was amazing.
And that's a twist we are taking as well on SMS. We often send with customers in the e-commerce space and subscription services, and they will send a message to their customer saying your package is going to deliver tomorrow. No exception, no, just a notification. And the customer can reply to it and said, "Oh, I'm not going to be home. Can you reroute it to someplace else? Or can you push it a week? Or can you hold it?" Whatever the thing is, or your payment is due and you can go and pay directly from there. So we want to turn all this outbound notifications into two-way conversation, because I'm sure you remember a time when a doctor office messaged you about an appointment that is happening tomorrow and said, "Oh, I can't make it." And now you have to figure out how to call them. And it's a whole different experience than just saying, "I can't make it." You got to reply, "When can you make it?" Next week. And again, just like you described it, in a 2-3 text exchanges, you can have any appointment.
Right. I love that. Hey, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, you have a really unique definition of what customer service is. I want everybody to hear it. And we're also going to talk about your benchmark report, the automation and contact center benchmark report that just came out. And by the way, even if you're not in the contact center world and working in that space, you are going to want to hear this information because it'll give you a really good idea of what customers are thinking about how customer service is being handled. We are talking with Gadi Shamia. He is the CEO and co-founder of Replicant, and we are coming right back. Don't go away. Hi, Shep Hyken, your customer service and experience expert, and I'm excited to tell you about my new book, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. Now, this book is packed with idea after idea on how to, just as the title implies, get your customers to come back. In the book, you'll learn that repeat customers aren't always loyal customers. Now, both are great, but there's a big difference. You'll also learn about 10 reasons a customer may stop doing business with you and 3 reasons you would stop doing business with them. And one of my favorite lessons is a 6-step process for creating an I'll Be Back strategy. Of course, there's much, much more. You'll start getting more of your customers to say, I'll be back almost immediately. Just go to www.illbebackbook.com. Again, that's www.illbebackbook.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We're back on Amazing Business Radio talking with Gadi Shamia, the CEO and co-founder of Replicant. We've been talking about all things customer service and support, and I want to kick off the second half of our interview with your definition of what customer service is. I thought it was extremely insightful. It needs to be tweeted, and we're gonna blow it up, make a meme out of it. You're gonna be famous because of this.
You have some ownership here, because I just thought about it as we were chatting. So the inspiration came just.
So it's collaboration. So I can claim this is mine.
No, you can claim you inspired it by your glowing presence. I always think of a customer service as the gap between how you design your system or product and how it actually functions. Because when you design your product, you plan for it to work perfectly. You plan for your suitcases to arrive in the right time. You plan for the shipments to arrive on time. You plan for cars to never break in the middle of the road. We don't plan a world to the breakage points. And in some cases, when it's really common, you can automate customer service, like automating a cancellation of a flight or something like this. But in often cases, customer service come in this gap where you did not design the way to fix the problem your system created, or the fix is too complex. And this is why customers still call customer service. This is why for the last 8-9 years I'm in this space, and people keep predicting that the volume of customer service is going to decrease due to how much of customer service is now built into products. It doesn't, because there's still a gap. You improve your product, and the gap happens someplace else. You used to call an airline to order your veggie meal. Now you can do it online, but a new gap is created because there is much more complex memberships and promotions and cross promotions. So the gap always exists, and this is where customer service is. And effective customer service closes gap really quickly and efficiently. Ineffective customer service create bedwill and anxiety for the customer by not closing this gap real quickly.
Yeah, and part of that bad gap is when you have to repeat your story several times to different people. You have the terrible experience of having to wait on hold. And I don't think, anybody, when the company says your call is really important to us, I don't believe they're lying, but their actions do speak louder than their words. When they force you on hold, you get disconnected. You talk to people who don't know who you are, don't understand the problem. You have to talk to someone else. And it really becomes, well, in my research, and I want to talk about your research in a moment, I believe it was 48% of the over 1,000 consumers that we interviewed and surveyed felt that they'd rather go to the dentist than call customer support. So.
I often feel this way. If you look at the definition of customer service, is the gap between how you design your system and how it actually operates. One of the biggest challenges for customer service leaders, which are your audience and your listeners, is that they don't have a lot of control over this closing this gap. Customers may call you a lot about a specific issue, and you're looking at the words, how will I solve it? It's in the hand of product or IT or engineering, and it's on the roadmap for 2027. What automation does, and this is maybe the most important takeaway from working with customers in the last few years, what automation does, it gives the head of customer service a freedom to close this gap on their own without affecting their team. The gap may still exist, the gap may be closed over time, but now the head of customer service, without IT, without engineering, without changing the supply chain issues, can start closing their gaps on their own. And it's a huge difference compared to always relying on someone else to close this gap or throw agents at the problem when the gap is created.
Yeah. So it's nice. The human is a backup. It should be a strong backup. And like you said earlier in our conversation, when you have an emotional issue, that's very important to pass that person on to a human who can show empathy and care, which oftentimes automation can't do. All right, let's talk a little bit about voice-based automation. I know this is something that was right out of your report, which, by the way, it is titled The Automation in the Contact Center Benchmark Report. Very creative title, I might add. No, actually, it's a very descriptive title, no doubt about it. Automation. And this, by the way, you can find.
It is.
Yeah, you can find this at the Replicant website. It's Replicant, REPLICANT.ai. And if you go there, they should be able to find a box to get the information and download the report. Yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. So everybody knows where to get that. All right, let's talk about voice-based automation. Here's what I think of it. And you tell me, Shep, that's the way it used to be. This is what I'm hoping you're going to say. Or my guess is it's the way it used to be and should be different, but some companies still stuck in the past. I call a company, I get the phone tree. It's an automated voice attendant repeating everything I say back to me, asking me to confirm things, talking in this robotic voice that sounds nothing like a human and takes twice as long to hear. It drives me crazy. Maybe that's my ADD kicking in. I don't know, but that drives me crazy. Tell me it's better today and going to be better in the future.
It is. The interesting insight of my CTO and co-founder, Benjamin Gleitzman, was he always felt when he taught was his old systems that he needed to learn how to speak robot and how to speak with the systems in a way they understand. For example, if you want to book a bus ticket, you cannot say I'm leaving from Dallas, Texas. You have to say Dallas, Texas. So as a customer, you need to be onboarded to speak robot. Now, we don't speak robot all the time. We want to speak human. And what his design principle from day one is, I don't want to lower humans to the level of a machine. I want to elevate the machine to the level of the human.
Boom.
And in order to do that, you have to allow speaking in full sentences. You have to ask to repeat only when you don't understand or you don't have strong confidence that that we understood you correctly, or the information is so damn critical. We have to get it correct, but you don't have to do it all the time. You don't have to create a monotonous experience. And the reality is, this was a shock to me. The average handling time across all our calls is at least 35% shorter than humans for the same exact call, and often cases 50% shorter, which means that we actually do something right. Even if it sounds like maybe, the calls, of course, much more scripted, but we actually get stuff done much quicker. So yes, we are talking about a whole different paradigm. It's just getting better all the time. So it's another area where every few months, not few years, every few months, the technology we develop becoming even stronger, even better.
What's the principle about the microchip excelling and getting better and
the
better?
Moore's law.
Yes.
So we have very similar situation in AI now. Not only computing become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and there's GPUs you can buy on the cheap, especially now there's less crypto in the world. But also there's a lot of open source and a lot of companies collaborate to create better models. Not all of them are relevant. I'm sure some listeners heard about things like GPT-3 and all these conversation models, or play with DALL-E to create images. A lot of it is very open-ended. In customer service, we need conversion. You don't want to have a chat about the weather with a bot. You want to get your problem solved. So we use models that are much more focused on resolving issues, but they become better and better in understanding you correctly. Give you one stat, which is internal. We are at 96% inference accuracy, which means if you're going to say 20 different things, 20 different utterance sentences in a call, we're going to get right 19 times of 20, which is probably better than humans, because a very focused human will get 20 out of 20. But do you think anyone can stay focused for 8 hours in a contact center dealing with 50, 60 different calls? No, they will text their boyfriend or girlfriend. They will look at Facebook, and here you go. Can you say it again?
Yeah, I know. I know. So you're telling me that the computer now is capable of knowing whether or not they understand the customer's intent in their statement. You said that the inference, I believe, is the word you used.
Yeah, inference accuracy is 96%, which I would argue is better than the average human in a contact center, because we always think that for AI to work, it needs to be better than human. It's can't. It needs to be better than the human that works for the 8th hour or even the 3rd hour in a contact center doing the same exact task time and time again. This is not you now super focused on me and trying to listen to what I say and being highly engaged. This is someone that just sits for the 3rd or 4th or 5th hour answering the same exact questions with the same exact customers. And this is the 5th day of the week they're doing it.
Oh, wow. So yeah, I imagine they get a little burnt out. They get a little tired. They lose focus. This is great. All right. We're down to where we have very little time left. I always ask the final question is the one last nugget of information, that one thing that you feel you want to share with us that our audience would love to hear. What would that be?
I would say 2 things. One, automation today in the contact center is real and can resolve real issues in really high percentage. And we give the power to the head of customer service, to the VP of customer service, to actually start owning, resolving their issues and closing the gap between the design of the system and how the system actually functions, and move away this power from IT to the business, the people that actually deal with the problems, is really powerful and new in this world.
Love it. Love it. And going back to what you just said, which ties into your definition of customer service, we want to reduce the gap. So that is a very important number to be looking at. It's just how you don't want to, it's not just how many calls you get, how often you resolve them properly, your ratings, et cetera. It's let's figure out a way to close the gap, because that means you're not just working on customer support, you're actually working on the system to ideally eliminate customer support. Here we are, 2 bald guys. And by the way, you can't see this because you're listening, everybody, but we are 2 bald guys. There's another bald guy, Jeff Bezos, who said, we should be so good that customers never need to call us for support. And actually, I found out Jeff wasn't the one that said it. Jeff was the one that asked his first VP of customer experience or customer service, Bill Price, I believe was his name. He was the first hire, executive VP of global service. And he says, what's your definition? And he said, we should be so good, nobody needs to call us. I think that would be cool. Not realistic today, because there is always going to be a gap.
When it comes to CEO and product is being improved all the time, it's a bit more realistic. But if you want a proof point that heads of customer service understand that, 91% is coming from the report of contact center leaders think that automation is a critically important task for them for the next 12 months. So we are getting to a point where this is well understood now in the customer service industry, and everybody either working on active project, planning to work on active project, or already implemented something.
Very exciting times ahead in the customer service and support world. Thank you, Gadi, for being on the show.
It was my pleasure.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We will be back next week with another interview. So until then, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.